right, so what you guys are going to be hearing about tonight is about J camps in 2021. We are going to be specifically talking about the camps on our Owings Mills campus. So if you have a child in our Kulanu program, we are not going to be covering that this evening. There will be a separate series where we will talk specifically about that program, but we're not going to be talking about it tonight. And we're also going to just tell you a lot this evening, but a little bit in a more of a general framework. We're going to go over what you can expect to see this coming summer, as well as areas that our programming will be covering and some general health and safety protocols that we will have. As I mentioned, there are going to be some topics that we're going to cover more in depth in later InfoSeries or within our InfoSeries, so in later sessions. So for instance, our teen experiences, we're going to talk about, generally this evening, but we will have specific sessions where we're going to be going in depth. But of course, our team of professionals are here to answer any questions that you have between now and then to make sure that all your questions are answered in preparation for hopefully registering for camp this summer. Or if you're already registered, getting a sneak peek of what the summer is going to look like. And we will do our very, very best to answer all of your questions to the best of our ability. So next slide is, let's introduce ourselves. So my name is Emily Stern. I am the Senior Director of Camping, and I am here with my 4 colleagues this evening. I'm one of 4 colleagues this evening. Stacy Deems, who is our Assistant Director. Allie Feldman is our JCAMS Coordinator. And Bradley Kirkston is our Director of Operations for Camp, but he's also the Senior Director of J Kids at the JCC. And what you'll hear about tonight is that we do have many year-round professionals that work at the J that also have a role in camp. And that's something that's really special about our J Camps team, is that we have amazing professionals that work at the JCC that have decades of camp experience, and they all have a role in camp. So we have our full-time team here, but we also have a lot of amazing professional staff at the J, as well as seasonal staff that join us over the summer. And some of those staff that join us over the summer include a camper support staff member, inclusion, as well as directors of some of our programs, such as our sports camp, Habima Arts Camp, our TNT experience. So we have an amazing group of seasonal professionals that work with us during the year to plan camp and then come in during camp to create this dynamic experience for your kids. So we have a ton of returners on our leadership team that are coming back this summer, and it's loads and loads of experience to help create the summer for your children, which is something that I'm very proud of that we can boast is the leadership that we're able to provide in this program. So next, what we want to do is, for those of you who are new to JCamps, JCamps is a program where we have kids from ages 2 all the way through 15. So as young as our Noah's Ark age group in the 2-year-olds all the way up through 15 in our CIT program, we offer a dynamic group of different types of programs for your children, from traditional day camp to Habima Arts to Maccabi Sports Camp, tennis, to our teen programs, to culinary camp. So we have a wide variety of programs. And last summer, what we know is that things were a little crazy before camp got started. We weren't sure if we were going to be able to run. There wasn't a lot of information coming out from the Maryland Department of Health, but thankfully, about a month before camp was supposed to start, we got what we needed in order to determine that we could run camp safely. But we ran a modified version of camp based on the fact that we had about 3 weeks to create this program for our wonderful camp community. And we were able to pull off a fantastic, fun, dynamic experience and safe program last summer that was called Summer at the J. So we want to show you the highlights of that program last year. And then we're going to go into what camp this summer is going to look like. So here you go.
Summer at the J.
Thank you. All right. So as you saw, we created a amazing summer program for our camp community last year that we were so proud of. And as we go into this summer, we're able to know that we are able to create a fun and safe experience for your campers, that we're going to go into this coming summer in 2021, where we're going back to our typical lineup of JCAMP's programming. We're going to talk a little bit more about what that looks like in just a little bit. But what we can tell you that your campers are going to have is they're going to enjoy a welcoming, positive, supportive, and safe community. And what we know is that right now, some kids are learning from home virtually, some are in a hybrid situation, some are in school, but what we know is our entire camp community is going to be coming from a different place this summer. And it's important more than ever that we create a program that supports your children social emotionally. And we actually, for many, many years, but even so more important this year, we have a camper support staff member who's on staff with us, and we work with that person as well as our counselors in their training to make sure that they know how to work with your kids, to make sure that we're there to support them, that we're there to help them create bonds with their friends, because as much as they are going to be ready, more than probably you even know, to be at camp and to make new friends and to create those bonds, it's going to be the first time that they may have been out of the home in social situations for quite some time. And for some, kindergartners, they skipped a year of camp. They were never first graders. They're stepping into their second grade year. So we're going to be there to support them in that transition, to make sure that they have the adults behind them to give them the tools and skills if they need them, to create a camp experience that feels supportive and is not too much of a jump from what they're coming from. They're also grow in a Jewish environment with Jewish experiences. We are a Jewish day camp. We welcome everyone, whether you're Jewish or not, but we do have Jewish values that we integrate into our program, and Brad's going to be talking about that a little bit more in a few minutes. And as I mentioned, we want your children to make friends. That may be camper to camper. It may be camper to staff. They create these wonderful bonds with their bunk mates. And this summer, when we talk about our health and safety protocols, you're going to hear the word pod. A pod is really a group of kids. It's a bunk of kids, and that is the group that your children are going to be interacting with this summer. And it is really important that they stay within those pods. And we have a team to come up with all the protocols to make sure that that happens. But what we found last year is that the friendships that were made were so strong last year because of that, because of the fact that our group stayed really tight knit and only interacted with one another, that those bonds became even stronger than we've seen in past summers, which camp already creates friendships, but it was to a whole nother level that we're really looking forward to seeing again this summer, as well as the bonds that staff made with the kids as well. They were really just able to get to know them in a really amazing way that we're looking forward to seeing again this coming summer in 2021. Your children will participate in dynamic activities. We have an amazing lineup of activities that we're going to share with you a little bit more this evening, and that they're going to socialize outdoors and have fun. The vast majority of our programming will take place outside again this summer in order to keep outside in ventilated areas and keep our campers as safe as we possibly can. And one thing that I just want to share with you as parents, that you may have sent your kids to our program last year. This may be the first time that you're sending your kids out into a camp-like a camp experience or a school kind of setting for the first time. And I just want to reassure you how resilient your kids are. Last year, when we were starting this program, we weren't sure on the first day of carpool this was only 6 months of kids being at home. We're now going into a year and a half, but we weren't quite sure how kids were going to react to being away from their parents for the first time in a very long time. And I will tell you, kids popped out of those cars, they waved goodbye to their parents, and they went right to their groups and started interacting. They were so excited to be in a place that was lively and energetic and had kids their age. So your kids are resilient. They're going to do great. And we're also going to prepare you and your family before camp this summer. Not this evening, but before camp. We will have camper orientation, parent orientation. We'll have tips and tricks of ways to help your child be prepared for this summer. So we will be there for you, not only during the summer, but before the summer, to make sure that your children are as prepared as they can be in coming back into these social settings that may, feel a little foreign to them after being home for so long. All right, next slide. So as I mentioned before, we are returning to a more typical JCAMS lineup of programs. So as opposed to our Summer at the J program, we are going back to our typical lineup that Brad is going to talk a little bit more about in terms of our traditional day camps and other specialty camps that we offer. The other thing that I just want to make sure that everyone knows as we go into this process together is that we are going to be as transparent with you as we possibly can. There are things that we know, and there are things that we are still working towards having a final decision on, because there's just dynamics in this world that we live in that we don't have 100% answers on right now, and we want to make sure that we move with the regulations. So there are a lot of organizations that we look to help make our decisions. So we work with a lot of different camp professionals and networks in order to help guide our thought process in what is the best practices in camping and working with children. We look to the Maryland Department of Health in Maryland mostly because of they are our local health agency that we have to abide by all of their regulations. Of course, we also look nationally at the CDC, and we are also an American Camp Associated accredited camp. So we also look to the field guide that the American Camp Association has put out about best practices in running our programs. So along with all of these things, with our medical staff, we have an amazing partnership at the JCC with LifeBridge Health. So we bring all those things together to make our policies for the summer. As of right now, the Maryland Department of Health actually hasn't updated their policies since they put them out last summer in June. So we are working off of what we did last year, and then we're going to continue to evaluate what those policies are and how they're going to shift as we move into this summer. As COVID changes and what we know about it, and how we need to react to it to make sure that we are safe. And I'll say react, but also really be very preventative. We are a very preventative camp. We want to make sure that we're setting up our policies and structures so that way we prevent any sickness or things coming into our program. But of course, we are ready and prepared to react when necessary. So that's how I would phrase that in going into this year. And really just know that we will always put our camp community's safety at priority, at the forefront of our mind. And as we make final decisions and policies, we will let you know, and we will be as transparent with you as we possibly can. And tonight, we're going to share with you where we are right now in that process. And as you have questions, just let us know, and we will let you know what we know in real time. We promise. Absolutely. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Bradley Kirkston, and he's going to talk a little bit more about that JCAMS lineup that I teased to tell you more about what you can expect from our programming this summer.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Emily. I just want to remind everyone that if you do have any questions about anything I'm saying or anyone saying, feel free to use the chat. So as Emily stated, we have programming for kids age 2 and above. I know it's really hard to see these images. You can find these images on our website, but this just lists all of our camps and all of our specialty camps and all of the time it runs. But we're really excited about all of our camp offerings this summer. I do just want to point out that we are going to have some individual info sessions on some of the individual programs. So if you do have any particular program questions, be on the lookout for some info sessions on those programs. I do want to point out 3 new programs or changes to programs. The first being our TNT experience. TNT has been a very successful program for many years at the JCC. And this year, the TNT experience will be for campers in 7th to 8th grade. And the teens will be in bunks and participate in traditional camp activities. There will also be 3 tracks. There'll be a sports track, an arts track, and a general track. And all the teens, no matter which track they choose, will have the opportunity to earn community service hours and participate in leadership workshops. Again, we're going to have a info session for that program coming up very shortly. We are excited to the return of our CIT program. The CIT program is for 9th and 10th graders, and that program will be a 4-week and a 3-week session, and the teens will rotate between being in a bunk, but also being with themselves and learning and working together. And then on the other weeks, like I said, they'll be in one of our J-Day bunks as assistants and helping out and learning how to be a future counselor. And then we're also excited with the addition of the Teen Tennis Academy. That program is for teens entering 9th through 12th grade. And that program is for grades 2 to 5. And you should have experience playing tennis before you join that program. We do strongly suggest that parents keep campers in programs for multiple weeks and not switch back and forth between multiple programs. So if your child is signed up for J-Day, we would prefer that they stay on for 2 or 3 weeks at a time before moving on to a new camp, and please don't switch back. If you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out. Thank you, and next slide. So we're so lucky on our campus to have such incredible outdoor spaces. And one thing we learned from last summer is kids really enjoy being outside, and we have a great campus, so we're taking advantage of that. And one of the ways we're doing that is we've just added a bunch of new outdoor activity spaces in our wooded area all around camp, but we're really excited to be able to move so many of our incredible programming outside. We're also excited to have so many in-house field trips this year. We're going to bring in amazing entertainers and performers to keep your kids entertained and have them have that magical camp experience. And I'm even more excited to talk about all of our things that are going to be returning. So our Instructional Swim program will be returning. For those of you who don't know, our Instructional Swim program is led by our incredible Red Cross trained lifeguards, and it follows the Red Cross curriculum for Instructional Swim. They will have Instructional Swim, but they will not have it every day. They will have it multiple times a week, but they will have free swim or recreational swim every single day. The campers, I'm really excited to say that Zipline and Ropes course is back this summer. We have an incredible ropes course and incredible Zipline that goes across our field, and that will be back. We also will have the return of archery, early morning drop-off and late stay. There will also be a teen for the TNT Experience and CIT program, a teen early morning drop-off and late stay as well. And we will have a hot lunch program, and all meals will be individually wrapped and individually served. And now, Jewish life at camp. So we have 4 Jewish values that really define our camp. The first one being kahila, or community, Hakira, curiosity, Tikkun Olam, or repair the world, and Ruach, spirit. And what we do with those 4 Jewish values is we integrate them into all aspects of camp, from our programming to our Shabbat experience to Shabbat, which I'll talk about in a second. But each week we choose one of those Jewish values to really focus on and really integrate, from flagpole to arts and crafts to even at the ropes course. We use those Jewish values to guide our programming. Like I said, every week at camp, we do a Shabbat experience. That Shabbat experience is on Fridays, obviously, and they will celebrate their Shabbat with their bunks. They will have challah. We have a song leader and a Jewish educator that will help lead them in an incredibly fun and inspiring Shabbat experience. The last program, most of you are probably looking and thinking to yourself, what's Shabbat? I'll tell you what Shabbat is. Shabbat is our way to integrate community service into camp. So each week, your camper will participate in Shabbat. They will do a community service project that we help create with Jewish Volunteer Connection, which is another local Jewish organization, better known as JVC. And each week, your child will participate in a community service project that will be integrated into the Jewish value, but we also each week will email you what the activity is so you know how your child is giving back and helping. We are really excited for all of our amazing programming this summer, and as we have more updates, we will let you know. And to talk a little more, I'm going to turn it over to Stacy Deems, our assistant director, to talk about health and safety. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stacy, and as Brad said, I'm talking about our health and safety at camp. So as Emily had already stated, the health and safety of our campers, staff, and community is our top priority. We have that great partnership with LifeBridge Health, and we belong to several groups of camp professionals like the JCC Association and the American Camp Association, and we really do follow that field guide that they produced in partnership with the CDC. So through all of those connections and more, we have been staying on top of the current information and the recommendations in the field. And to help you make the right decision for your family, we've added a safety protocol section to our website that answers the most frequent questions that we have been receiving in the camp office. And these include many of the protocols that we anticipate will be in place this summer. As the state of Maryland guidelines for youth summer camps continue to evolve, we will continue to monitor and adjust our protocols appropriately and safely. So we appreciate your continued support and your patience as we work once again towards a summer that is based first and foremost on the health and safety of our campers, staff, and our families. And as Emily had mentioned, our promise to you is that we're going to remain and be transparent during this entire process. Everybody on this call is here for one reason and one common goal, and that is to make sure that their kids and our campers are in a great and safe summer experience. And what we ask from you is that you partner with us in this transparency, and we ask for your transparency, your honesty, and your diligence in your family's actions this summer that will help make this goal a reality. So there's a lot that I'm going to share. I'm going to warn you right now, it's a lot, but don't worry. All the information I'm about to go over can be found on our safety protocols page, and you can always contact us in the camp office with additional questions, and we are happy to tell you what we know and what we don't know yet. So with that in mind, I'll just start going through some of the protocols. So our camp medical staff, we have 2 registered nurses on site daily. One of them is on our campgrounds, on our fields, and the other one is in the early childhood center. We've also added additional questions to our camper medical forms about allergies that may have symptoms that mimic a symptom of COVID. So for example, if your camper coughs due to a grass allergy, we're not going to be calling you for every single cough, but the health team will be in contact if a different symptom develops or if that cough worsens, right? So we really try to stay on top of what is normal for the child and what is going to be a little bit different. In partnership with LifeBridge Health, our medical team, and based on the Maryland Department of Health guidelines, we have created a response protocols for symptomatic, probable, and positive COVID cases. If a camper or staff member develops symptoms during the day, they'll be evaluated on a case-by-case basis from our medical team, and if deemed appropriate, isolated and required to go home until they're cleared by a doctor. If the camper or staff member happens to test positive for COVID-19, we will immediately inform all of the parents in that child's bunk or pod. And we also contact the Maryland Department of Health to report the case. And then we will follow the Maryland Department of Health and CDC guidelines to determine who will have to quarantine and for how long in the event of a positive test. And we have these kind of protocols set up for every possible scenario, and they're all handled on a case-by-case basis. We do daily health screenings. So all campers and all staff will participate in daily health screenings when they come onto campus. For our staff, it's when they first arrive, and with our campers, it's through our carpool line, and that includes temperature checks and a standard questionnaire regarding potential risks, possible COVID symptoms, exposures. Most likely, all of you have at this point have heard the same kind of questions. Those are the same things that we're going to be asking at camp as well. For staff training, we always have a really strong commitment to training our staff. We routinely devote well over 50 hours of training in the weeks leading up to camp. And that includes CPR and first aid, online training, and full day trainings on campus. So in addition to what our regular training protocols are, our camp staff will also be trained in all COVID-related safety and prevention protocols for this summer, as well as what they can and cannot be doing with the campers, when, all of that kind of stuff in relation to COVID. General programming. So we've mentioned before that all programming will take place at safe distances and with the proper protocols in place. The majority of our programming will be outdoors. Our groups or pods will not mix with other groups during program times. And we do take into consideration for how the groups will be traveling to and from different locations as well. So we're really diligent about making sure that pathways do not cross unless they absolutely need to, and what side of hallways people stand on and all of that. And we do practices with our staff during staff training as well. We are currently not planning for any off-campus field trips over the summer, but as Brad had mentioned, we are planning to bring in some amazing special programming instead. For inclement weather, and that is really defined for us for a major rain event that's heavy, that you can't really see through. So like if it's sprinkling or like a rain, we're still going to be outside. But if it's a heavy rain event, thunder, lightning, or a high heat, so in code orange or code red day, all of the campers will be brought inside of the JCC, and each group is assigned their own space in the building. So what's one of the amazing things about our building is the fact that we do have enough spaces for each individual group to be assigned that space. While they are inside, all campers and staff will be required to wear masks, and all of our staff will be disinfecting all the frequently touched surfaces, and the campers will be encouraged to wash their hands and disinfect their hands throughout their time. A lot of the activities will be led by the staff members, and if there is a special activity going on, or the specialist will visit the room where the campers are. So the campers really don't change the spaces, but our specialists do move around. The next one for cleaning and disinfecting. So we have dedicated facility staff to clean and disinfect all of our common areas and supplies, both during and after camp hours. So all tables and chairs used during lunch shifts and all activities will be sanitized after each use. All shared equipment will be disinfected after each use. And each camper group will have its own bunk box. So what that is we have an allotment of small supplies, such as art supplies or board games or cards, stuff like that, that belongs to that particular group. So if they're going to art and they know they need to grab their they need color pencils, they're going to grab their bag of colored pencils and bring it with them to the art room or art table, instead of having supplies that are shared by all of the campers in the camp. We also added additional hand washing stations last summer, and those will also be utilized throughout camp. And we have some really fun hand washing games and songs that I'm sure you're going to hear at home later. Our camp capacity. So in order to do all of this, to safely distance our camper groups, to keep everybody separated as much as possible, the overall capacity of camp is reduced a little bit. So it does limit the camp's enrollment availability. So that's one of the reasons why we say secure your space with our early bird promotion, which ends at the 28th of this month. So, make sure that, just to get your space in there, because we do have limited availability. Camper group size. So it's a really common question, and it's a little bit tricky because the final group sizes are going to be based on what the Maryland Department of Health camp guidelines are, and those don't come out until closer to the start of the summer. So we don't have an actual answer for you to tell you exactly how many kids are going to be in a group, because we based off of that. What we can tell you is that our groups are not going to be as large as they were in 2019. And we are expecting that they are not going to be as small as they were last summer. So we're thinking more so along that midline 8, but I can't really even give you any solid numbers, unfortunately. But I can tell you that your camper's bunk or pod will remain together, as Emily stated, throughout the day, and they really don't mix with any of the other bunks. If there's times when the bunks are in the same area, like for example, for lunch, they will remain socially distanced from other groups. So that one pod will be distanced from the other pod. We use visual markers whenever possible to make it easier for campers to understand. So we use hula hoops and field paint and floor tape and streamers and whatever else we can come up with to visually show those breaks. It also means that we've added additional lunch periods. And as Brad mentioned, we do Shabbat in smaller groups throughout the day on Friday instead of one large big camp Shabbat that we used to do in 2019 and prior. Large question, I know everybody wants to know this, so our mask policy. So we're currently following the mask policy that was put in place by the Maryland Department of Health for camps in July of 2020. So while they've updated some policies for schools and daycare, because camp is a summer thing, we're expecting our policy to be updated closer to the summer. So if and when a new policy is issued prior to camp, we're going to provide you with an update of exactly what ages those policies are. What we can tell you is that currently it states that the masks are required for campers and staff during all carpool, when we're transitioning between any activities and any time we're indoors. It also requires masks to be worn outside for campers and staff when social distancing isn't possible. So what that means is, for example, if the campers are at arts and they are sitting around a table together, then they're going to be masked, and so is our specialists and staff. Everyone's going to be masked because they're going to be in a smaller area. But if they're on the fields playing a game and just kind of running past each other as they're passing balls around and all of that fun stuff, then there's no need for them to be masked because they're outside and it's a larger than a 6-foot area that they're running around in. That said, at any point where the two either campers need to come back together or a staff member needs to maybe go, let's say, help a camper tie a shoe or check on them or whatever, they're gonna be putting masks on to kind of go up close again to those campers. Transportation and travel. So we wish we had an answer for this tonight, but unfortunately don't. We're continuing to monitor the COVID-19 impact on our ability to offer express bus service in the safest way possible this summer. So whether you're already registered, considering registration, you plan to use transportation this summer, please complete the transportation survey. It was just sent out to the families that are in our database via email this afternoon. And Allie is going to put the link in the chat for you guys as well. So if you did not receive it or you haven't filled it out yet, the link is right there. The feedback that you're going to give us is vital to helping us make a decision that takes into consideration what our families need and feel comfortable with this summer. And our travel policy. So a lot of questions have been coming up about this as well. Like, what if we've taken a vacation? So just like transportation, I wish I had a solid answer for you, but unfortunately right now I don't, because we're going to be following whatever the state of Maryland mandates during the summer months. And if the policy changes midsummer, we're going to change with it. So last year, for example, there was a travel ban that was put into place in July that affected 10 states, including Delaware, and it wound up affecting our August camp weeks. So we sent an email out and let all families know that if they had any travel scheduled to those 10 states at any point during the remaining weeks of camp and they weren't able to attend camp, to let us know and we would refund them the money that they were not able to use in the program. So we're going to follow those same exact rules, that same exact transparency, the same exact honesty that we did this year. So if a ban winds up happening and it affects your family, just let us know and we'll work with you to take care of it. And like all of our policies, we ask for our families to remain honest with us about their plans. And that's really to protect our entire program, all of our campers, all of our staff, and the entire JCC community. So I'm going to now turn it over to Allie, who's going to talk about how you get in touch with us at camp.
Hi, everyone. My name's Allie. I am the JCAMPS coordinator, and I'm here to talk to you a bit more about our website, upcoming information sessions, as well as our risk-free registration. So you can find all of this information on our website. You'll find information about programming, times, camp options, sessions, pricing, and more, located at jcampsbaltimore.org. We have a separate dates and rates page where you can view our guest rates, our membership rates, our multi-week discounts, and our other discounts that we offer for this summer. If you're interested in becoming a member of the JCC and saving some money on camp, and also spending your summer with us at the J, our pools and other amenities will be open. We would love to have you join us for 4 months. So Stacy is actually going to put our membership contacts info into the chat right now. So feel free to jot that down and save some money on camp and hang out with us at the J. So in addition to this info night, like we've already said, we will be having future additional virtual info sessions that will have topics geared towards different age groups and programs this summer. So be on the lookout for an email from the JCAMS office about all of those. A little bit about our risk-free registration. We have extended our 100% refund date through April 15th. So this means that any money paid towards camp, including your deposit or anything you choose to put down after that, is fully refundable for any reason. In addition to that, our final billing date has now also been extended. We have moved it back a month. So it was originally May 1st. It got moved back to June 1st. If you already signed up and you have selected to pay your balance in full, the billing date is now June 1st. And if you were on a monthly plan that ended on May 1st, it has also been extended that extra month. A question we got a lot is about changes versus cancellations when it comes to your camper's schedule. So a change is when a camper's number of weeks remains the same, but their schedule may change. So an example of this is, let's say you signed your camper up weeks 3 and 4 for J-Day, but you want to switch them to tennis camp. That would be an example of a change. And all changes this summer to programs, schedules, or additional options made after May 1st will incur fees. And a cancellation is when a camper's number of weeks actually decreases. So let's say you have to cancel a couple of weeks, you go from 7 weeks to 5 weeks of camp. Any cancellations made after April 15th will also incur fees. So that is all of the information on our website as well as our registration. If you guys ever have any questions about anything, feel free to send me a direct email or email jcamps@jcc.org. So now we are going to head into the FAQ part of the night. So you are more than welcome to ask any questions in the chat, and we will do our best to get to every single question. We should be able to get to most questions, but if for some reason we are not able to, someone from the camp office will reach out to you. All right. So our first question is, let me just scroll up. So how will before and after care be managed given how the rest of camp will be in pods? So I'm going to turn that over to Emily.
Hey, so yes, really good question. It's actually a program we didn't run last summer, and we are choosing to bring it back this year because we have learned a lot about how we can keep our campers safe while also keeping them separated. So that is exactly how early morning drop-off and late stayer is going to work, is that we are going to be keeping the kids in a much larger area and separated out based on their pod. So it'll be more of a like zone defense for staffing. So for example, we have our really large tent that we have on our lower field that is separated out into a bunch of different quadrants. Stacey mentioned as much as possible, we have visual aids for the kids to make sure they understand where they can and can't go. So we'll make sure to keep the kids 6 feet apart. Making sure that if you have a child and they have friends from their bunk that are in early morning drop off or late stay, they can stay with them during that time and interact with one another. Otherwise, they are going to be separated out into separate tables. So there'll be a lot of like single gameplay, cards, coloring, things to keep them engaged. It will be a very different program than it has been in the past. We are bringing this back because we know that families need the care, but it will look different than a typical early morning drop-off and late stay program than in past years. And our staff will be there masked the entire time. And like I said, more of a zone defense to make sure that your children's needs are taken care of. and we will have staff ready at the cars to bring your children from their cars with the daily screening into early drop, as well as pick them up at the end of the day. So you will not be coming in and out of the building. We'll be outside as much as possible. And if we do have to be inside for an inclement weather situation, we are blessed in the fact that we have gymnasiums that are very large, very open, and we can keep them separated in that area as well.
Okay, so the next question is from Elizabeth. She asked, you mentioned that you do not want people moving back and forth between programs. If we are considering sending our kids for an extended period, that would be 6 or 7 weeks, and wanted to break up the J-Day experience with 1 week doing something else, is that an issue?
So we are strongly recommending that that you sign up your children for multiple weeks in the same program. It's in order for us to be able to contract trace more effectively and also not cross groups as much. So if you're planning on doing J-Day and you want your child to experience Habima, or you want your child to experience tennis camp, we suggest that you do those in blocks of weeks. So to do 4 weeks of J-Day and to do 3 weeks of Habima, or if you want to do 6 weeks of J-Day and finish your summer with tennis camp, but keeping those weeks consistent is very helpful to us. It's strongly recommended. We're not mandating it, but it is a strong recommendation from our camp office to do it that way.
Okay, great. So we do have a couple of questions in here about vaccinations. So Emily is going to go a little bit more into that.
Yeah, so vaccinations is a really great question. It's one of those things that we are continuing to monitor it as more information is available. Right now, the American Camp Association has lobbied and worked with the CDC, and the CDC has now recognized camp professionals as an out-of-school worker with children. However, that hasn't necessarily trickled down to the local levels yet. So there hasn't been local levels where they say, specifically that camp staff fall into a certain level. So because of that, the field guide for ACA is actually still recommending that we not have specific mandates around vaccination, because at this point, local levels haven't mandated that camp staff fall into that category. As we move towards the summer, we will update you as we know more. At this point, we do not have a policy around vaccinations of our staff. We don't know if we will, because it is a constantly moving situation. It's only been available for a short period of time, and there's still many months before camp starts. So we will keep you as updated as we know more on that.
So we did get a question about our inclusion program. Stacy, do you want to go ahead and answer that?
Sure, be happy to. So yes, we do still have the inclusion program, or what you had called our special needs program, or a shadow program. So that is, we have applications available. It's the same application that's on our website. And Helene Rappaport is our inclusion director for the summer, and she is the person to contact for that. And I will put her contact information right now in the chat for you, so that you can send her an email with any questions that you have about that program.
Okay, great. So we got a question about what are the safety protocols for kids around the pool and in the pool, especially during instructional swim.
I am muted. Cardinal rule, right? We are working with our aquatics department right now to manage all of the policies around instructional swim and free swim. We did successfully run free swim last summer. Instructional swim, we know, is a different situation, different beast, you may call it. We do not anticipate having daily instructional swim as in past years, because we are going to have less groups of kids in the pool during instructional swim in order to keep them socially distanced. So the goal for instructional swim is that kids will remain 6 feet apart if they're not in the same pod, which is why they will likely have instructional swim less days a week, because we need more to have less groups there at one time. So we're working on all the intricacies of it, but that is the known detail that we know going into it right now.
The next question we got is about karate camp.
So yeah, karate camp is a great question. We are currently working with Jen Lake. CSA is near and dear to our hearts. She's still in the process of making her decision of what her weeks are going to look like this summer. We anticipate having an answer, or she will be in touch with her camp community, hopefully by the end of the month, if not the beginning of next month, to give more information on that. And you know, we are anticipating that. We're waiting to hear too. We can't wait to hear.
Our next question is about our travel policy. If you could just go over that again, Stacy.
Sure. So yeah, I saw your question, Stacy. The thing is we don't really know what the actual rules are going to be this summer because of the fact that we are waiting for the state of Maryland to decide what their travel policy is going to be, right? Like right now, we're a pretty locked out state. Last summer, it was states without 10%. So it was maybe 10 states that were done that we couldn't go to. So I don't have an actual answer for what the policy will be. However, if there is a policy that will affect that comes into place that will affect your family and your camp weeks, just let us know and we will, we'll work with you to get that figured out. And as soon as policies come out that do affect camp families, we do send emails out to everybody who is registered and applied, letting them know that, like, hey, this policy just came out and this is what it means for camp. So if you don't happen to hear it via social media or whatever, you're, on the news, you're going to hear it from us via emails as well. So we'll keep in touch.
The next question is about indoor versus outdoor for programming. So Emily, if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the vast majority of our program is going to be outside. The only program right now that is scheduled to have any indoor activities is Habima, but it's going to be a lot less than it is in a typical summer. So in a typical summer, Habima has all of their activities inside except for their swim time. This year, their swim time will obviously continue to be outside. Lunch will be outside. There's a little bit of a difference between the first and second grade group and the third through sixth grade group. So the first and second grade group has 4 activities that are a part of the Habima schedule, 3 performing and 1 visual art. Their 1 visual art activity will take place inside in our fine arts room, which is a large open room that actually has special exhaust fans built into it that are there for like pottery classes and things like that. It happens to work out well in this scenario. And their other 2 out of the 3 performing programs will for sure be outside in some of our new outdoor program spaces that we've created. There's 1 performing activity right now that may be inside, maybe outside. It depends on if an outdoor stage is built in time for camp. So if there is an outdoor stage in time, dance will take place outside. If not, it will take place on the Gordon stage, which is, if you've never been to our theater, is a 500-person theater with a large, there is a lot of room for kids to spread out. It's a very wide open space. And anytime we are inside, all children, no matter of age, will be in masks. For 3rd through 6th grade, all of those activities will take place outside. The visual arts activity will take place outside. The 2 performing arts and then the dance program is still dependent upon what our outdoor facility looks like. Otherwise, all of our programming will take place outside this summer. It's why we've created a lot of different program spaces for our multiple programs. We are lucky, though, to be able to have our facility in such a large one that in the case of an inclement weather day, we're talking extreme heat, we're talking rainstorms, a little sprinkle, we're okay, we'll stay outside. But we have enough spaces in the JCC to be able to have designated areas for each group to be able to maintain our pod structure throughout the JCC in those cases.
Okay, great. So if you are just joining us, because I know we have a few people that just joined, we're in the FAQ part of our info session. So feel free to ask any questions in the chat right now before we wrap up. So one of the last questions is, how will it be handled if there are siblings across multiple bunks or pods?
Yeah, so that's something that we had last summer as well. There are siblings that will be in different pods. we'll still have all of our groups by grade. So if you're going into first grade in JADA, you're in a first grade group. If you have a child who's in fourth grade in sports camp, they're in their JV group in sports camp. We do a lot of contact tracing. We know where the kids are. We have CANT systems in place to know how one pod's health affects another. And if there's a situation where there's a health risk to one group, we know how it affects other groups and that those systems go in place. It's a trickle down effect in a lot of cases.
Okay, great. So that's all. Wait, let me just scroll down. Yeah. That's all we have for our FAQ session. If you have any more specific questions, like I said, please feel free to contact any of us from the camp office.
All right. So thank you guys so much for joining us this evening. We hope that we were able to answer many of your questions. We know that we still have a few unknowns out there, but we promise to keep you as updated as we can as we move towards the summer. We do have our early bird ending on Sunday, the 28th. So please register now, save a little bit of money, and get your registration in now. And we will continue to have InfoSeries on some of our on our specific programs, what they're going to look like, especially our teen programs. We know many have questions about the TNT experience. That is a very different program that it's been in past years, where teens have volunteered in the preschool. They will not be volunteering in the preschool this year. So if you have a teen going into 7th or 8th grade, please stay tuned, put your registration in, but we will tell you a lot more about what that program is going to look like very soon.
I'm just going to plug the fact that we are hiring as well.
Yes.
So if you have a teen that is 11th grade or older, or a college student, or you yourself have any skills that we are looking for, we are hiring. We have some lead positions in some key areas like ropes course and archery and athletics. So, kind of think about who you want to hang out with your kids this summer and send them our way.
Yeah, and if any of you are interested, we have staff discounts. So we definitely have pretty good staff discounts at our program. I saw a few of the thank yous in there. Thank you guys for being with us, for listening to what we have to say. And we are looking so forward to camp in 2021 and for warm weather. It's way too cold right now. All right. Have a great night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.